if Liverpool was a person, it was him.
Oh boy. I woke up today not expecting the news that I read, and I have Lewis from Good Sports Reviews, also of LFC Transfer Room, featured loads on the Redman TV. So no better person to kind of digest this than Lewis. Not many people.
Yeah.
Fit for the purpose. So Lewis, thank you so much for coming on, and I
No,
just
no.
want to
Thank you.
know what your reaction was. Obviously, it has come out of pretty much nowhere, and no rumors, no nothing. In an age where everybody seems to know about everything, this has just like hit. What was your reaction?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Well, I cried. I'm comfortable enough, I think, to admit that I did cry. I've got a friend called MJ who he's in this sort of community actually, and he
Mm.
messaged me saying, I won't say what he said because censorship and that, but
Oh,
I thought he's an Arsenal fan, so I thought originally it was something to do with Mikel Arteta. I thought Arteta had left, or someone was injured, or something had gone wrong, and went on Sky and yeah, wasn't the best news to start my day. Friday weekend off, and yeah, I just it's do you know what? It's a mishmash of random emotions. I'm sad, but I'm scared because I don't know what's going to happen. But at the same time, I'm sympathetic because Klopp's explained his reasons, and it was so hard to articulate. We went live about like half an hour later, and it was so hard to articulate words to describe the situation. I mean,
mm.
I don't know what your thoughts are on that sort of thing.
I woke up today to it. So I live in the U.S. On
Okay.
the East Coast.
Yeah.
So I woke up today, just grabbed my phone. I saw a WhatsApp message from like two of our co-hosts here on the podcast. I think it was George
Mm.
that said, wow, massive news," and then I think it might have been Harry that said, like, you called it right because I had said
Mm.
out of frustration in the preseason when we had lost six midfielders and signed just the two at that point, and the Premier League season was getting
Yeah.
closer, and we were recording our preseason predictions. So what I said was, last season during our bad run of form, I said this is the last season for Jurgen Klopp, and I think Klopp himself said
Mm.
like a lot of managers in that run last season would have just took a step aside.
Yeah.
And I felt at that point that it was the right time to kind of change things and start fresh with a new squad. And we'll talk about like how amazing the rebuild has been. But then I was prepared from that point for the end. So
Yeah.
at, when we were doing then our preseason predictions, I said it again. This will be our last season. I didn't think this season
Mm.
would go as well as it has done so far. And I was totally prepared for this to be Jurgen Klopp's last. Thank you, goodbye. Let's start like fresh, somewhere like with
Yeah.
the fresh-faced squad, which ultimately what we've been doing Liverpool 2.0 as Jurgen Klopp has kind of named it. So I kind of took the news well. I was surprised for sure because I didn't think he would leave
Yeah.
after the start that he had. I thought he would see his contract out until 2026.
Mm.
But no,
I think
wasn't
most
prepared
of
for
us
it
did.
now.
I think most people, the narrative going into it was always, and Klopp's even said it himself, to be fair, that he was going to see out the contract. He was always going to stay until the
Yes.
end. But
Yes.
at the same time, I think we have sort of been living a bit in denial because he has also said, look, the day I'm too tired to carry on is the day I'll leave. And lo and behold, that's what's happened. The talks of him possibly extending beyond 2026, I think, were just people living in hope. I've never been of that camp. I always knew he would go, or I thought he was going to go at the end of the contract.
Yeah,
I
same, same.
never thought, yeah, I mean, I never thought a few days after reaching another cup final and just before, as we're starting to go in towards the beginning of the run in for the Premier League title, this would be when he announces it. But
Mm.
I'm happy. And he said it himself, he's done it because there's people who have long-term investments in this club, i.e.
Yep,
staff
yep.
and coaches who need to know what the future is. So he's done this from the most selfless perspective that he possibly could have done.
That's why Jürgen Klopp is one of my favorite men, like, of all time. And people can get a bit, caught into the, and rightly so, because that's the stuff that goes most public on social media these days. The negative parts when he, talks about the wind playing a factor in a bad result, or the refereeing decisions, or all the lunchtime kickoffs that we seem to get. And people can kind of react to that kind of negatively, and, sometimes rightly so. But the mindset of Jürgen Klopp going into the job, and the mindset he has remained with, and kind of the selflessness of it all, is certainly something that just has built his legacy throughout. And the way he's gone about it today, and since November, since he told the board earlier, I think has been 100% spot on. There are a few on Twitter that have that questioned the timing a little bit, but it literally couldn't have been better, because you leave it until the summer, and you catch everyone by surprise, and then the search becomes much more hectic. But now, all the people at the club have time to think about what's next. All the actual technical staff that's leaving with him, Pep Linders and Peter Kravitz, being on the head of that. And they also have the chance of thinking about themselves and their families and their kids and school and everything else. And then Liverpool can, take their time and get the next man in.
Yeah, and it's the fair way of looking at it. At the end of the day, we live in this world where we think that the manager has to give everything to the club, and he has, and the coaches have, and the players have. And I think it's only fair that in this scenario, he's thinking of himself, because people will often go on saying, you hear the pundits saying, can the players push another season? Can they run another season? But no one ever says, is the manager able to carry on another season? It must be draining, because it's not a job where you can shut off. It's a job where every waking minute of your life is dedicated to that. And Klopp said so himself. And for someone who puts so much effort into this team, who's already rebuilt it once and is having to do it again, has gone to 3 Champions League finals and pushed us to win in the league almost 3 times. This would be the 4th. That must take so much effort and energy. And, he's in his 60s now, or coming up to his 60s. He's a grandfather now. He wants to spend time with his family. We, as fans, cannot thank him enough for what he's done. I think the best thing we can do is just to support this decision and enjoy the short time we've got with him before the next manager comes in.
100%. And to kind of build on your point about kind of the tiredness and the want to live a normal life. From his press conference, quote, "I realize my resources aren't endless. Put everything left into his season. Take a break." That was kind of the first things he kind of said. This club needs a manager on top of their game, and he feels that he cannot do this at his very best ability beyond this season. So the mindset since November has been, give it everything you have left, empty the tank for the rest of it, and let the club go again, in the best possible way. Do I go the sentimental route or let's go practical? Replacements. The talk will have to start now, Lewis. Everybody's talked about Xabi Alonso. Everyone has talked about Xabi Alonso, inevitably, because he is among the names linked. He's probably the most fitting and the one doing the best job at the moment. Top of the Bundesliga as we speak on the 26th of January. 4 points clear of Bayern Munich, with the same number of games played between the two of them. Is that your first choice?
100%. And do you know what? I think Alonso is, the style of football he plays is very reminiscent of Klopp. And I think another thing that Alonso's got going for him is when Klopp leaves, whoever comes in after him is going to be up against it because they're not going to be as loved. They're not going to be as cherished as Klopp is. Alonso, being a former player of ours, will come in with that extra step ahead that a lot of other managers won't, because we know who he is. We know what he's capable of. He'll have the love of the fan. Like when Lampard went to Chelsea, they got rid of Potter. Lampard came in because they knew the fans would respond well to it. Alonso's got that same sort of feel about it. And tactically, he's brilliant. He's shown that he's capable of competing up against the big boys in Bayern Munich. There's no other manager I can think of who would fit the role as well, who would play the Liverpool way. Alonso's not the most, not passionate, but Klopp's very charismatic. Alonso's not that per se, but I'd love to see him in the dugout for us. I think Klopp was a perfect fit. I think Alonso is the next perfect fit after Klopp.
On this channel, I've gone on a lot about Bayer Leverkusen in general, and kind of their performances this season. One of our videos, I think it's the most watched on the channel. But anyway, it details how Bayer Leverkusen have played so far, and how incredibly well they've been performing. But my reason for Alonso is not that it is a similar start to Jürgen Klopp. I think it's healthy to have a new kind of playing philosophy, and kind of start fresh. If you try to replicate something that Klopp has done, it ultimately won't be as high quality, let's say. But the technical
100%.
ability of this current Liverpool squad and how young they are and willing to learn, I think fits fantastically well. So Leverkusen play a back three. It's like a 3-4-2-1. The only question would be about those two behind the striker. But at the back and in midfield, I think it makes perfect sense. So the back three would be Virgil van Dijk, Raymond Konate, Joe Gomez. Wing back, Trent. Left wing back, Robertson or Tsimikas. And then in the attack, it shifts into a back four. Robertson remains at left back. Joe Gomez will go into right back. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. That's the exact role Odilon Kosunu is doing for Leverkusen at the moment. It fits like a glove. The midfield too, you get a double pivot of, let's say, Alexis McAllister and Wataru Endo, which is a double pivot I've been dreaming of since the start of the season, ever since we got Alexis McAllister in. And Endo, of course. And it's up until this point, it's only been Wataru Endo or McAllister. It's so annoying. But the question will be about how to utilize Mohamed Salah, given he's a wider player, and how you can fit that into the kind of the two behind the striker. But not too concerned about that, because Xabi Alonso will come in and look at the squad and see how he can fit them to the best of their abilities. It's not going to be... I think a lot of people get caught up in what the manager currently does at their team and how it's going to fit to the exact, in an exact clone of a tactic, which, it doesn't make a lot of sense to talk about it that way, but the principles are there. And, Xabi Alonso's affinity with the Klopp.
We saw it when Klopp... Well, when Klopp came in, his first season, he tried playing the Dortmund style of football, and it worked to an extent, but he had to change it up in the next two seasons. He went much more defensively and controlled rather than continuous rock and roll football, or heavy metal football, sorry.
Yeah.
The only thing that you mentioned there, we spoke about that back five, Trent, Gomez, Konate, Van Dijk, Robertson, and then you mentioned Salah and all these players.
Yeah.
My other concern is when Klopp goes, are some of those players then thinking, Klopp was a big reason for me being here. Salah could just as easily go, and then Alonso's going to have to, or whoever comes in is going to have to then bring in their own players. Yeah. I mean, that might go towards what you're saying, where the whole system had changed, and they might have to bring in new players who can play that role. I mean, that is a genuine possibility.
I also wouldn't be too surprised if Pep Linders actually ends up staying at Liverpool and takes the manager role. Those to me, I think I see one of those two. Pep Linders, there's a lot of time left. Linders might change his mind and be approached, and after obviously an extensive search for a new manager, the board might go to Pep Linders and go, would you mind staying for 3 years or 4 years? And he might take it, and I think he would be ready. But other than those two, I feel like any other name would be a little bit too random at the moment, having not still digesting the news and not having put much thought into it. Like, let's bring in Unai Emery. It feels a little bit random. I would love Unai Emery. I really rate him as a manager, and someone that brings brings players to the best level and punches above their weight. Michel from Girona, again, a little bit too like he's had a season where they're performing incredibly, like at an unbelievable level. I think the most entertaining team in the world to watch at the moment are Girona. But other than Xabi Alonso and Pep, it feels random still.
I mean, Ruben Amorim as well.
Ruben Amorim.
He could Sporting. Yeah. He might be a good one. It just feels like, because the only way I could describe this before, and I got laughed at before, it feels like a breakup where like you've just broke up with someone. You don't want to be thinking about the next person. Like anyone you say, I'm just gonna be like, well, it's not Klopp. It's not Klopp.
Yeah, it's not.
So, no.
Exactly.
It's not the same. And no one. Alonso fits Liverpool, I think. Pep Linders, I'm not sold. I'd like it as a sort of just to give it a go and see how it goes kind of thing. There's no one who I look at and think you'd fit. Like people have said De Zerbi. I don't want De Zerbi.
No,
I think he's very overrated. Some people have said Thomas Frank. I don't want Thomas Frank.
No.
I think he's a good manager, but he's just not to the level.
Yeah.
Some people said Zidane. Absolutely not. I think he's a great manager, but personality-wise, and I think there'd be too much conflict. It wouldn't work. So it's just a weird scenario, and I think that the sooner we appoint. The only thing is, if Alonso is to be the next manager, ideally we need to appoint him sooner rather than later so we can get things moving. But while Leverkusen are top of the league in the position they are, they're not going to announce that because it'll disrupt Leverkusen's season. Yes. So it's a bit of a catch-22 situation.
Yeah, it's going to take a lot of time. And as you say, nobody is going to be Jürgen Klopp. And I think... No. Oh, man, I wrote something down here while I was... watching the press conference and taking notes, because I'm a professional, of course. He said something like, "The stands will stay forever, the AXA will stay forever," and I couldn't help but think this is legacy. No one can come into Liverpool, in my eyes, and keep have the permanent legacy that Jürgen Klopp will have at Liverpool and in world football in general. You think of all the Anfield renovations, obviously the new training ground, and Melwood ending up being part of Liverpool Football Club as well. And just the incredible transformation from where the club was before he was appointed. And I just don't think anyone
100%.
will be able to come in and leave a mark as he did. So ultimately a sad day, one that I will admit I saw coming. Not today.
No one thought today.
Yeah. But all we can do now is just enjoy the rest of it, right?
Yeah, I mean, I did the video on my channel and I went to a bit of a passionate rant about it. I'd just come off me tear fest. I won't lie, but I was a bit...
I want to watch that then.
I couldn't... I was fine at that point. I was okay. I was more sort of... do you know what? I was angry, and it wasn't I was angry at Klopp at all. I have absolutely no anger towards him. I was angry because it feels like we can't do enough to sort of pay him back. And in it, I said we could win every trophy for the next 3 seasons and it still would not be able to pay back what he's done for us. So the best thing we can do now as a club and as a fan base is make sure that the support is as good as possible, make sure that the players are playing to the best of their ability, and we give it all and try and win every single one of those trophies. Because if he's not lifting the Premier League title in May, I'll be disappointed, not for us, but for him. Because I've never said, or this season, I have not said once, we are going to win the league. I've always said City. Now I am determined in us to win this league, because if this doesn't put a fire underneath the players to go and do it, nothing will.
I think it will.
Yeah,
and I can only hope we win the league then. Oh man, the thought of like us coming short at the last day of the season yet again is just crept in my mind.
Can't happen.
God forbid.
Cannot happen. If it happens, I'll be no. Can't happen.
Nah.
But I mean,
yeah.
What in your opinion then? I mean, is Alonso the manager for you, or is there anyone else apart from him and Pep Linders who is a bit of a left field shout for who should come in?
It like right now, it is Alonso. Like Alonso is just I think the best culture and tactical fit. I don't know what else can happen. Who else can be quite as an okay a fit? I really don't know. I really don't know some left field shout that comes in the next 2 months might come up, and we would be, oh wow, how haven't we thought this sooner? This is something.
How have we not thought of this person?
How come haven't we thought? I don't know. The one thing I will say is Steven Gerrard 3 years ago, we would have said, bring him in. No, absolutely not, of course. But I don't know. I think let's just enjoy the rest of it. Let the club do what they can. But
they've said themselves like
Xabi Alonso.
Yeah, I mean, and they've said themselves like that they are starting the search now for a manager, so they're not leaving it. They're trying to get ahead of the game. Have you got a? I feel like it's an in memoriam video. I'm so sorry. I'm not normally this morbid, but have you got a favorite Jürgen Klopp moment?
100%.
During his time,
they won the Champions League on my birthday.
Really?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
That is definitely my favorite.
Can't top that.
My favorite day.
Yeah.
Followed very closely by 4-0 Barcelona. That day though, I missed the first half because I had exams later that day, and I just didn't think we'll win, so I just left it, let the studying distract me, and but then I saw it was 3-0, and at that point I went up to opened the TV and watched the rest of it, and the Origi goal goes in and everything else.
Forget the exams. We've got more important things to worry about.
Forget the exams. I didn't take my shirt off when Origi scored or anything like that. No. But no, winning the Champions League on my birthday is certainly up there.
That's brilliant.
What about you?
That's to win on your birthday. You know what? I think if it's a Klopp moment, I've got two, and one of them is sort of what you'd expect, and one of them's a very niche one.
Oh, go on.
So I love from doubters to believers is undoubtedly my favourite moment, because I think that was the perfect first day. That was the perfect message to give out at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think my other one is, I think it's that season, and Milner, it's against Villarreal, and Milner slides in for a tackle in the Europa League, and Klopp, he pumps his fist in it, and then he turns around to the crowd and starts giving it all this and getting everyone, and it's so... I love them. I fell in love with that point because I just thought he's what we've been crying out for. Like Brendan Rodgers, I like Brendan, but Klopp was something different. And just to see his passion running up the touchline, running onto the pitch, hugging Alisson, the celebrate. I adore it. I love the passion, and it was if Liverpool was a person, it was him. They're my two.
Yeah. If Liverpool was a person, that is him. I love that quote. I think we'll end there. I think that's a perfect way to end it. The greatest Liverpool manager of the modern era. obviously. The one that has won everything at Liverpool. The only man to do so. The man that has won 106 out of 108 points or something mad at one point in the Premier League.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, man. Nobody can replace him, but all we can do is enjoy the ride. Thank you, Lewis. Yep. Thank you for stopping by on the channel.
No. Thank you so much for having me on. Really appreciate it.